Hey everyone, Chrissy at Pinovate. Thank you so much for following along. This is our LAU Canadian Artist History Box, and we are going to be learning about Kenojuak Ashevak and her history and how important her art is. So please follow along and we get to make something pretty incredible together. Okay, so for this project, you have a few things in your kit. You're going to have a printed piece of paper, so this is what we are going to be recreating. You also have some tracing paper as well as some multimedia cardstock. You're also going to be using your watercolor pencils, a pencil, Sharpie, and you should have a little brush in there. The only other things that you're going to need from home would be tape, Q-tips, water, and a paper towel. So grab all your stuff and we'll get started.
Kenojuak was born in 1927 in an igloo in Baffin Islands, Northwest Territories. In 1950, Kenojuak became very ill with tuberculosis and was sent to a hospital in Quebec City for over 3 years. She started to draw to pass the time while she was in the hospital. Once she was well and moved back with her family, they moved to Cape Dorset in 1966. She pursued graphic arts through a local artist co-op, and she quickly gained much recognition for her prints and her work. She was featured in the National Film Board of Canada's documentary, Eskimo Artist Kenojuak, in 1963. And with the money that she made from the film, her family was able to purchase a canoe for hunting, which was extremely important. She would work with graphite, felt tip pens, pencils, watercolors, acrylics, and even soapstone. Her work has been seen on the Canadian stamps and some coins. In 2017, for Canada's 150th birthday, her work called Owl's Bouquet is shown on our $10 bill. She was inducted into Canada's Walk of Fame in 2001, and her work is sought after by museums and collectors. Canadian Heritage Minutes also has a little video about the story of her life, which is beautiful to watch. We are ready to get started. So as you are working on your project and watching this video, please remember that you can pause, rewind, and fast forward as needed. You do not have to finish your project all in one sitting. If you work on a little bit one day and then more the next and then finish it off another day, that is completely fine. This is all at your own pace, so please don't feel rushed or pressure to finish it right away. All right, so we are going to recreate one of Kenojuak's happy little owls. So she worked a lot with graphite and watercolor, and we're going to make our own version of this. So grab your paper printout, and on top we're going to use our tracing paper. So we want to center that on there, and then just tape it down so it doesn't move. Excellent. So now with your pencil, make sure it's nice and sharp. We want to just basically trace every outer line as well as the eyes and the beak and the little lines within there. So with a nice sharp pencil, we're going to go ahead and just trace right onto there. All right, so I have finished tracing around my owl. I have the beak and the eyes traced as well. Just a little note that when you're doing that and you're tracing, if you rub your hand across where you have already put your pencil, it is going to get dirty and it is going to smudge. But that's not the end of the world. Just a heads up that that's going to happen. If you do have pencil that is rubbed in and smudged, you can always go in with an eraser and just kind of touch up around the area if needed. But again, it's not the end of the world. We can totally work with that. Okay, once you're happy with your tracing, we're going to peel this off and place our printout just to the side. We don't need that for the time being. Now we need our multimedia paper. And with our owl, the side that we traced onto, we actually want to flip that over and place it down onto our multimedia paper. We want to center that up, make sure it's exactly where we want it to be, and then we're going to also tape that down so it doesn't move. All right, so this is the fun part. So now we're going to do a graphite transfer. So the pencil that we had on the opposite side of our tracing paper here, we want to make sure that this gets put onto our multimedia paper. So in order to do that, we're going to kind of do something super cool. You've probably done this before. We're going to do like a rubbing. So we're going to take our pencil and we're going to hold it from the side and we're going to push. Okay, and when we push with our pencil like that, if you take a little peek underneath, you see those lines are starting to transfer over onto our multimedia? That's exactly what we need to do. So we need to do our entire image of our owl just like that to get our lines over. Oh, this part is exciting. We actually get to see what we've created underneath. So I've taken my tape off and I am just going to take this tracing paper off. And there we have our happy dancing little owl onto our multimedia paper. If you notice, if there's pieces that are slightly missing or they're lighter than the others, that's okay. We're going to be doing some watercolor on this, and these pencil marks don't need to be very dark at all. Ooh, I love watercolor pencil crayons. These are awesome. So now with these, you're gonna pick 3 different colors, okay? We need a color for the body, a color for the wing feathers, and a color for the head feathers. So I'm going to do green and purple and yellow. So these are my choices, but you can pick any 3 that you like. Okay, so watercolor pencils work very similarly to just regular pencil crayons, okay? So when we're doing this, there's a couple tips that you need to know. The harder you push, the darker it's going to become. The lighter it is, the easier it is to blend, okay? So I'm going to start with my head feathers, and these are all going to be green, but I'm not coloring the whole thing. I want to go about halfway, because in between I want to blend these 2 colors together with water afterwards. Okay, and also remember, because this is graphite or pencil on here, if I'm coloring and moving my hand on it, it's going to do the same thing, and it's going to smudge and get my hand a little bit dirty. But again, we can always erase that afterwards. Okay, so I have my head feathers done. Now I'm going to do my wing feathers, and I chose yellow to go here. So exact same technique. Make sure that you're doing slightly darker on the edge, and then you're going to just slightly kind of blend off about halfway down the wing. Awesome job, guys. It's coming along. So also, your coloring does not have to be perfect, because when we go in here later on with some water, all of that is going to blend and look beautiful on there. Okay, I'm moving on to my last color, purple, which is for the body, his eyes, and I'm not going all the way down onto these the feathers on here. I'm gonna go about halfway down just so they have room to blend together when we use our water later on. Perfect. So we are all finished coloring our happy little owl. For the next step, we are going to need some water, some Q-tips, some paper towel, and if you want to try it, you can grab your little blue brush as well. So we get to change our watercolor pencils into paint now. So this part looks really, really cool. So with your Q-tip, you're going to dip it in your water, and then you're going to take most of it off. We do not want this to be too wet at all, just a little bit damp. Now with this, we're gonna go in and just use it very, very gently and just kind of pull all those colors and blend them so you can't even see any of the pencil marks in there anymore. So just gently rub and kind of pull into the center of that feather with each one. You can see how it softens the colors and blends really nicely. Every so often you're going to want to use a clean end just because this gets so full of paint that it just ends up becoming quite dark. So I've done a few little feathers. I'm going to swap to my other side now. So again, into the water, take most of it out, and we're going to continue on. So I'm done all my green feathers. You can see how soft and smooth they look now. So I'm gonna continue on with my yellow as well. Same technique, dip it in the water, and then I'm going to take some off on my paper towel just so it's just a little bit wet, not too wet. If it's too wet, it's going to end up running and smearing everywhere. I have finished all my feathers. You can see such a nice difference between the feathers that are finished and where the coloring was from before. So you can see how it blends and looks really, really nice. So for this, we're gonna try the brush, see how you like it. So same technique, just dip it in the water and just dab most of the water off on your paper towel. And then now we can go in and we can kind of use it like a paintbrush. Just pull the color and water where you want it. Again, you do not want much water on here or it's going to be too wet and run everywhere. So you can try your brush, see how you like it for the bigger areas. If you still prefer the Q-tip, go right ahead and use that as well. All right, so around my feathers here, I don't want to pull it all the way in. I just want to take a little bit of that water and just gently pull it to where the yellow is. I just want them to just touch, just very slightly. So for the face and the eyes, I'm actually gonna go back and use a Q-tip just because I can get a proper circle right in the center. Okay, my owl is all finished. It's all painted and I'm loving how it looks. So if you're happy with your painting and you're done, you can finish right here and you hang this up on your wall. If not, if you want one extra step, we're going to pull out your Sharpie and what we're going to do is give everything a nice solid outline. Okay, so remember your Sharpie is a fine tip as long as you're using the very tip of it, not the edge of it. So we're going to outline all of the feathers just like we did when we were tracing, as well as the beak and the eyes and the little lines for his mask. All right, so some tips with your Sharpie. If you have your hand resting on your table, that's going to give you a nice solid support. So as you're going around all of the tiny little feathers, it's going to help you have a nice sturdy straight line. Also, when you are writing, do not stop with your marker. If you stop, it's going to have a very solid, thick ink spot. You want to make sure that you're continuously moving the whole time. Okay, if you're in a strange position, just stop, move the paper as you need, and then continue. There is my happy little owl, all outlined and finished. This is my final product. I'm super happy with how it turned out. I love the colors. I love the nice dark outline compared to like the nice soft colors on the inside. If you are struggling with the outlining, take a break. Make sure that you're not rushing. Take your time with it. And if your hand is getting tired, just take a break. Come back to it another time. But I can't wait to see what yours looks like when it's all finished. Great job.
Thank you so much for following along with me. And I hope you absolutely loved making your happy little owl and learning about Kenojuak Ashevak with me. And please follow us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. We would absolutely adore seeing your work when you are done. So please tag us at Pinovate and DIY Delivery on Instagram. Thanks so much for following along.